Today, we are diving into a really powerful idea, one that's been quietly shaping history, religion, and art for, well, millennia. It's the reason you might find a Hindu symbol inside a Muslim fort, or why ancient enemies would suddenly just drop everything and unite. So let's get right into it.
So let me ask you this. What could possibly connect feuding warriors on some ancient island, the way major world religions have evolved, and even the design of a building? It sounds kind of like a riddle, right? But the answer is this really fascinating concept about how cultures crash into each other and create something new.
And that answer is syncretism. You can think of it as the engine of cultural blending. It's the whole process of combining different and sometimes totally contradictory beliefs and practices into something brand new.
So let's break that down. As you can see, syncretism is incredibly broad. I mean, this isn't just about religion. It's the merger of separate traditions. We're talking theology, mythology, art, you name it. And a lot of the time, it's used to show some kind of underlying unity between different groups. It's a pretty powerful tool for creating a more inclusive approach. Now, to really get a handle on this, we've got to go back to where the word itself came from. And trust me, it's a fantastic story about survival and coming together.
So our first clue comes from the first-century writer Plutarch. He noticed this really unique behavior among the people living on the island of Crete, and he gave it a name, synkretismos, which basically means the union of Cretans.
Okay, so here's the deal. The different groups on Crete, they were pretty much always at war with each other. But, and this is the key part, whenever an outside enemy showed up and threatened the island, they would just drop their quarrels, they'd reconcile their differences, and they would unite to defend their home. That very act of coming together, despite all their divisions, well, that was the first syncretism.
But the idea didn't just stay in ancient Greece. Nope, the term's meaning actually evolved quite a bit over time. Jump forward to the 16th century, and you have the famous scholar Erasmus using it to talk about theological dissenters uniting against a common enemy. And then, by the time of the Enlightenment, thinkers like Diderot reframed it in a much more neutral way, just to describe the blending of different sources of knowledge. The word itself was on a journey, right alongside the ideas it stood for.
So, with that history in mind, let's take a look at how this all plays out in the real world. Because I promise you, once you know what to look for, you start seeing syncretism absolutely everywhere. Religion is just a fantastic place to see syncretism in action. And this isn't some random mixing and matching, it's often really strategic. Think about when Christianity spread across Europe. It actually incorporated elements from Germanic and Celtic paganism, which made the new faith feel more familiar and accessible. You see it with Shinto beliefs weaving their way into Japanese Buddhism, and Indian influences shaping Shi'i Islam all the way over in Trinidad. And sometimes it can even be subversive, like how some conversos in Spain outwardly practiced Catholicism but were secretly blending it with the cult for the victims of the Inquisition. And it's not just beliefs, it's literally built into our structures. Just take a look at this. These are elephant-shaped brackets at the Lahore Fort in Pakistan, which was built by the Muslim Emperor Akbar. Now, the elephant is an incredibly powerful symbol in Hindu culture, so putting it right there in the architecture, that was a very clear visual statement about cultural blending and coexistence in a realm with many different ethnicities. This is syncretism, carved right into stone.
But, as you can probably guess from these examples, blending entire cultures isn't always a simple, happy process. In fact, it brings us to this central tension at the very heart of syncretism, the clash between unity and purity.
Okay, this right here is the crucial point where syncretism gets really controversial. On the one hand, for some, it's a vital tool for coexistence, a really pragmatic way for diverse empires to find common ground and keep things stable. It's all about finding harmony. But for others, it's a profound corruption. They believe that this blending devalues what makes each tradition unique and that it betrays a pure, original truth. In those circles, calling something syncretic isn't just a description, it's an insult. It's really a battle between social cohesion and spiritual integrity.
So who are the groups that tend to push back against this idea? Well, often they're what are called revealed religions, faiths that hold to an exclusive approach, believing in a singular, divinely inspired truth. For many followers of post-exile Judaism, Islam, and most branches of Protestant Christianity, the idea of adding an outside belief isn't just wrong, it's a compromise of their faith's very foundation. For them, purity is absolutely paramount.
And all of this brings us back to the modern era where the whole idea of syncretism was kind of given a new life and a whole new meaning.
Yeah, as we touched on a little earlier, it was really during the Enlightenment that the term started to shed some of that negative religious baggage.
You had thinkers like Denis Diderot who started using syncretism in a rational, non-judgmental way. It just became a useful word to describe the simple act of bringing together ideas and principles from all sorts of different sources to form a new whole.
Which leaves us with one final thought. We started this journey with ancient islanders uniting against a common enemy. We've seen how their strategy gave a name to a process that has shaped empires, religions, and art for centuries. So the question for us today is this. In a world that is more connected and globalized than at any other time in history, is this kind of blending of our cultures, our beliefs, and our ideas not just common, but maybe, just maybe, inevitable?